Okay, let's see if I want to share this live here. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Courtney. Let me get up out of here. I was getting too close here. Too close. All right, let's pull it back. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Let me just get this thing propped up. Okay. Top of the morning. Wow, what a long month. This has been a long month. But the biggest part of this month has come to a conclusion. And I want to say this, I'm not bragging, but I was the first person to report the verdict. And I'll tell you how that happened. This is very important. So when you look at everyone's story and everyone talking about they broke the story, this is what happened. In the courtroom, first you have to go to security to get into the courtroom. So my phone, unbeknownst to me, was in my pocket. So I got to security. The door leading into the courtroom, I gave my phone to security. They checked the phone for me. So I was the only one that had the phone at the security by the courtroom. When the verdict was read at 3:05 p.m., I left the courtroom after hearing the first three top counts of racketeering. I have the verdict form in front of me, and I have the presser as well. That I'm on the mailing list now. I'm getting everything sent out to me. That wasn't the case before. Human error or intentional, we don't know. But anyway, when the verdict was read, I proceeded from the courtroom to the front of the building. I called my story in first and foremost as I was coming down the elevator, and then I don't know if you'll see any live cameras rolling, but I was the first one that came out to announce the verdict. Yeah. I also, and the reporters who are in the room will attest to it, I predicted the verdict would come back today, or yesterday. I predicted it would come back between 3 and 4 p.m. I didn't predict the outcome fully, but I did predict that he would get convicted of something. Just because of the questions I heard, and there were several questions that came back, but more importantly, the question was read on Friday at 4:07 p.m. That gave me an indication this jury was moving at a rapid pace. So what I'm going to do now for those who are reporting the story, and I want to say this, and I saw a lot of people, or the lack thereof, of certain people that have very big platforms. They didn't say anything about this case. They were quiet as a house mouse or mouse. They were quiet, didn't say anything. And we're going to talk about that later on. But I'm going to show you how people will jump on the bandwagon because it's politically sound to do so. But here, hold on. Let's just go ahead. Let's get this out the way. I'm going to read verbatim the press release that I received. Okay, guys. Let's see. I'm gonna put it in landscape, so we're gonna scroll up. If you can hear me, give me a one. If you can hear me, give me a one. So I want to make sure. I don't have a mic hooked up right now, so tell me if you can hear me. Let me get a one. Somebody give me a one so I can start. All right, guys. I got a one. All right. R. Kelly convicted of all counts by federal grand jury in Brooklyn. R. Kelly found guilty of racketeering and multiple predicate acts, including illegal sex with minors, sexual exploitation of minors, bribery, coercion, and forced labor. Robert Sylvester Kelly, the R&B singer also known as R. Kelly, was convicted today by a federal grand jury in Brooklyn of all 9 counts of a superseding indictment charging him with racketeering predicated on criminal conduct, including sexual exploitation of children, forced labor, and Mann Act violations involving the coercion and transportation of women and girls in interstate commerce to engage in illegal sexual activity. The verdict followed 6 weeks of trial before the United States District Judge Ann M. Donnelly. Jacqueline K. Casoulis, acting United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, and Peter C. Fitzher, Special Agent in charge of Homeland Security Investigation, New York. He's at the New York office of Homeland Security. Today's guilty verdict forever brands R. Kelly as a predator who used his fame and fortune to prey on young, the vulnerable, and the voiceless for his own sexual gratification, said the acting U.S. Attorney Casoulis. A predator who used his inner circle to abuse, exploitation, and degradation. To the victims in this case, your voices were heard, and justice was finally served. We hope that today's verdict brings some measure of comfort and closure to the victims. This is what Ms. Casoulis told the press yesterday. She also thanked the attorney's office for the Northern District of Illinois and the Cook County State's Attorney Office, which was ran by Kim Fox, for their assistance with the case. Robert Kelly is a serial sexual predator who used his fame and musical tours as his personal hunting grounds to find his victims. Her words, not mine. His words, stated the special agent in charge, Fitzburr. Mr. Kelly ran a criminal enterprise whose mission was to serve his sexual gratification by setting up a complex organization of enablers and handlers. When his victims tried to escape, Mr. Kelly and his accomplices silenced them through bribery and intimidation, physical violation. So, before I read further, they said, and his accomplices. So, does that mean that they are going to be charging other people moving forward? Because if you know they're accomplices, then you know as a member of law enforcement, you have to charge the accomplices. But you don't have to if they're corroborating. So let's see where this ship travels. Okay, to continue. The brave survivors who overcame Mr. Kelly's abuse deserve our utmost respect for telling their story and bringing an end to his 30-year reign of terror over the young and the vulnerable. So remember, this is a RICO. This was a RICO racketeering case, and they alleged in the indictment that Robert Sylvester Kelly ran a criminal enterprise, and the jury concluded that the government, the way they presented the case, was valid, with the exception, and this is very important, and I'm going to continue reading, with the exception that Sonia, all the allegations from kidnapping, sexual assault, and all the things that she had testified to, the jury didn't believe it. The jury did not believe that. And I'm going to tell you in a minute why that's important. Why that's important. I'll tell you right now. The prosecutor put up Sonia as one of the alleged victims, but the jury didn't believe her. And I would just ask the question: if the prosecution was able to put up this particular witness that none of the men and women believed, I can't second guess the jury. I would just say that that is a little suspect right there. Anyway, the evidence at trial concluded that the testimony, the evidence at the trial included the testimony of 45 government witnesses, including more than 10 victims, 5 of whom are named in the superseding indictment, testimony from employees of the defendant, text messages, video and audio recordings, photographs, phone and travel records, DNA evidence, and expert witnesses. This is something I don't know if anyone else reported, but yesterday, before the verdict came in, members of the press was allowed to hear some audio. And I'm going to tell you, it was hard to listen to. It was hard to listen to. And hearing that audio, listening to that audio, would probably make you mad as well. You don't get a pass for what was heard on that audio. I'm sorry, guys. That was hard to hear. Let me finish reading. Kelly issued rules that many of his sexual partners were required to follow, including that the women and girls were to call him daddy. They were not permitted to leave their rooms to eat or visit the bathroom without receiving his permission. They were required to wear baggy clothing when not accompanying Kelly to any event. And they were directed to keep their heads down and not look at or speak to other men. Kelly also isolated the women and girls from their friends and family and made them dependent on him for their financial well-being. He required the victims to engage in sex with him and others and recorded many of the sexual encounters. I saw comments by many people out online asking, where are the videos? They want to see the videos. You don't think the government's going to show the videos of these acts? That's not going to happen. So let's make sense. They weren't going to show the videos in open court. They were only showing pieces of videos to the jury during the trial. One 15-minute video of 13 minutes or a 15-minute video, and another 25-minute video. But we were members of the press were asking for us to hear some of the evidence so we can internalize what the jury saw. So they conceded and played some of the audio yesterday. And I didn't talk about that too much because it was like a fast-paced situation. The verdict. First, I broke the story about Joycelyn Savage and R. Kelly being engaged to be married. I broke that story yesterday as well. Then, at the conclusion of me breaking that story, literally, it wasn't even 2 minutes. We got the call. I got the email. The jury reached a verdict. So now everyone's hustling back to the court. They're hustling back into the courtroom from wherever they were at, because some were at the restaurant, some were sitting in the park, some were sitting in the media room, some were just sitting in the courtroom. And that came in. So it was a frenzy. Cameras moving around, people moving. It was crazy. In any event, let's go by reading the charges. Racketeering Act 1, bribery. Kelly bribed a state employee to create identification for Jane Doe 1, then 15 years old, so that Kelly could marry Jane Doe 1 because he believed she was pregnant and therefore the marriage could keep him out of jail. Racketeering Act 2, 7 and 10. Sexual exploitation of a child, Jane Doe. Okay, guys, I don't know if you're still there, but hold on. We have, temperature issues, guys. I have some temperature issues. Hold on. We have to cool the iPhone down because it's actually pointing in the sun. So let me do something here. Let me put something to kind of block that off. Give me a second. Hold on a second, guys. Let's see if that'll suffice. Okay. We took the sun. The phone is cooling down. I don't know if you guys still can see me, but hold on. Let's see here. Stand by, guys. Let's see what we can do here. All right, guys, I think I'm cooled down now. Stand by. All right. Okay, here we go. Let me know if you can hear me. Give me a 1 real quick. Somebody give me a 1. If you can hear me, give me a 1 so I can start back up. If you can hear me. All right, thank you, guys. Thank you. All right, let me set this back up. I have the air on, so the sound, I'm going to put it low as possible without ruining the video. Here, let me finish this here 1 second here. Oh, hold on. Hold on a second here. This is what's called real time. Everything's happening in real time right now. Hold on. Okay. All right. All right, guys. Oh, crap. I'm almost tempted to go back out and come back in. So, for real, but I'm not going to do it. Okay. I got it. I got the thingamajig hooked up. All right. Give me a 1 now if you can hear me because I just hit one of my buttons. Give me 1 and we can continue. If you can hear the sound of my voice, let me know. Come on, guys. All right, here we go. We're back. Okay, we were reading racketeering. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna go back. Racketeering Act 2, 7, Racketeering Act 2, 7, and 10. Sexual exploitation of a child, Jane Doe 2, Jane Doe 4, and Jane Doe 5. Kelly coerced Jane Doe 2, Jane Doe 4, and Jane Doe 5 to engage in sexually explicit conduct for the purposes of producing video recordings. Over the course of decades, he made these recordings and other recordings of sexually explicit content using VHS video cameras, Canon camcorders, iPhones, and iPads. Racketeering Act 6, 11, and 13. Forced labor, Jane Doe 4, Jane Doe 5, and Jane Doe 6. Kelly used the threat of physical harm and physical restraint to ensure that his victims, including Jane Doe 4, Jane Doe 5, and Jane Doe 6, performed sexually at his command. As to Jane Doe 4, he slapped her, choked her, and spit on her before demanding she give him oral sex. As to Jane Doe 5, over a period of years, he spanked her, viciously assaulted her, confined her for periods of days, and otherwise manipulated her to ensure that she would perform for him sexually, including with other women and men. As to Jane Doe 6, he forced her to give him oral sex. When he did that, there was a gun within Kelly's reach. And I want to talk about that testimony after I finish reading this. And that was Faith Rogers, by the way. Racketeering Acts 5 and 9, Mann Act violations, Jane Doe 4 and Jane Doe 5. Between May 2009 and January 2010, Kelly regularly spoke with Jane Doe 4 over the telephone to arrange for Jane Doe 4 to come to his residence in Olympia Fields for the purpose of illegal sexual activity, which was illegal because Jane Doe 4 was too young to consent to sex in Illinois. Similarly, between September 2015 and October 2015, Kelly transported Jane Doe 5, who was then 17 years old, from New York City to Oakland, California, for the purposes of illegal sexual activity, as she was too young to consent to sex in California. Racketeering Act 8, 13, and 14, Mann Act violations, Jane Doe 5 and Jane Doe 6. In April 2015, Kelly arranged for Jane Doe 5 to fly from her home in her home in Orlando, Florida, to Los Angeles, California, for the purpose of illegal sexual activity, which was illegal because Kelly knew he had an incurable sexually transmitted disease, STD, and did not inform Jane Doe 5 about the STD prior to engaging in sexual intercourse with her. In May of 2007 and again in February 2018, Kelly arranged for Jane Doe 6 to fly from her home in San Antonio, Texas, to LaGuardia Airport in Queens, New York, for the purpose of illegal sexual activity, which again was illegal because Kelly failed to disclose that he had an incurable STD and obtained Jane Doe 6's consent to engage in sexual intercourse under those circumstances. When sentenced, Kelly faces a mandatory minimum of 10 years imprisonment and up to life in prison. So this is and first and foremost, they announced in court yesterday that his sentencing will be May 4th at 10 a.m. in Brooklyn federal court. So, listening to all the testimony and the cross-examination of these witnesses, the jury obviously sided with the prosecution. The question now remains: did the defense not call enough witnesses? And when we talk about Faith Rogers, who was the last one on the part of the Mann Act, there were a lot of questions I saw online, statements people were making, and also what the defense said during his cross-examination of her. She said something about a police report that she filed in Westbury, New York. And I thought that based on her denying things that were in that police report, the defense would have at least brought the cops who took the report into the case to impeach her statement. That didn't happen. That was a missed opportunity. And the witnesses that were called, they weren't the strongest witnesses for his defense. So I would say the prosecution put a full court press on. When I say full court press, they had witness testimony, audio and video evidence, and a extensive closing argument that was, and I have the transcripts from the closing argument for the prosecution. So now that Mr. Kelly was found guilty, we're going to look at the closing arguments and how that played a factor into them reaching this decision. At the end of the verdict yesterday, his attorney said that they may be filing an appeal. They may be filing, if they're not on the case, then someone else may be filing the appeal. I don't think that R. Kelly is going to take this verdict and move on. I doubt very seriously. I also thought it was interesting that they are going to wait. They're going to wait until May to do the sentencing, but they have to get they're going to be people making victim impact statements. There are going to be people they're going to have to do a pre-sentencing report. There's going to be a lot going into this the sentencing. Again, that's not going to be taped. No recording. There'll be transcripts for it, but because it's not in a court, thanks to Judge Roberts, no cameras allowed in the courthouse. But I'm sure there are going to be victims coming in to make an impact statement, and these are some serious charges, and the judge can sentence them consecutively, meaning stack on charges, stack on the time, or they can run everything together. So this is and then he has other cases in other jurisdictions, Chicago as well as Minneapolis. So someone asked, would I be covering the other jurisdictions? I don't think I'm going to cover the other ones. I'm going to cover the sentencing, perhaps, because if they throw the book at them, those other jurisdictions may not even proceed with the case because, the strongest jurisdiction to try Mr. Kelly has succeeded. I think if other jurisdictions elect to move forward, then this is all symbolism at this point, because what is 30? What is a life sentence? What is a life sentence to they give him a life sentence? What is that going to do to him? He doesn't even probably have the money to fight these other cases. So I don't see him. I don't think he's going to plead out to them, because him pleading out to any one of these other cases means taking a plea deal in one of these other cases. His appeal will probably not matter much, because then if he's going to plead out, he's going to probably have to plead out to some serious time. And I don't know if Mr. Kanik is going to represent him in these other jurisdictions. He needs a lot of money. He's going to be sued. The first person who spoke at the press conference yesterday was Gloria Allred, and she spoke about her clients. And I was the one to ask the question about her client Sonia, that are you going to proceed with pretty much how strong would it be, her civil suit be, if the jury in this federal case didn't believe her? But Faith Rogers will likely have, I don't know if she'll win a civil suit, but it laid the groundwork for a civil suit for her to file. Definitely did. It laid the groundwork for a civil suit for her to file. Again, the jury spoke. He has a right to appeal, which he has 30 days to file an appeal, and I'm sure he's going to file an appeal, and it's up to the next court because remember, there was a lot of objections made in the trial. There were also sidebars happening while the defense was putting on their case. So as long as the attorneys made that a matter of record, those are the things that have to be looked at on appeal. Every time he made an objection, those are grounds he can raise under appeal. Some things, in my opinion, that was missed as it related to the sequestration of the jurors. So there's a lot that could have, in my opinion, could have been done. I did speak to the attorneys yesterday as well, before the verdict. Another development that happened yesterday morning was his counsel, Nicole Blank Becker, didn't show up to court. She didn't show up to court. We were told that she had an emergency and she had to fly back to Illinois. So this is in the morning. So R. Kelly's already probably thinking, hey, my attorney is not here. She's in Illinois, and now I have a sentence. A verdict. And I mean, it was just a lot going on yesterday. Let me read some of the questions. Oh, I agree with you. Absolutely. Someone said, you can't see me. Why can't you see me? You can't see me? Talk to me. And some guys, honestly, I can't read some of these comments. I can read the super chat comments, but I can't just, you guys making a lot of comments. But if there's a super chat, I'll read the comment. But there's a lot of things that it's interesting. You're been trying to tell me you can't see. Yo, can you see me right now? You can hear my voice, but can you see me? Can you see me? Really? Oh my God. Dang on. Okay, here you go. I don't want to end the live, but no one can see me. I can see myself. This is crazy. Not bad looking, as a matter of fact. Here, hold on. Okay. Okay, guys. I'm gonna tell you what. Everyone, stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. No more comments. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna come back in. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna come back in. But at least you heard what I said. At least you heard what I said. I'm going out and I'm coming back in. Oh, black screen. Wow. Okay. I'm hanging up and I'm coming back in. I apologize.